Sounds good.
Hello and welcome to the Walk Off, everybody. I'm Scott Belford. We've got a very special episode for you today, a bit of a prospect exclusive. And before we do the big introductions here, if I can get everyone watching who has yet to subscribe to the channel to do so, it goes a long way. And hit that thumbs up. The like button helps us out. On that, so happy to have returning to the show. First and third baseman in the Toronto Blue Jays organization. He finished last year's 2024 season with the AAA Buffalo Bison. Riley Tirotta, welcome back to the walk-off, man.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be back, man. Thank you, Scott. Really appreciate you having me on every time, man.
So I know you're in Florida right now, correct? Are you?
Yes, sir. We're down at the complex, getting ready for spring training down here in Dunedin, and yeah, guys are filling in left and right. So things are getting busy. Things are kicking into gear quick here.
Is this your fourth spring training?
Yes. Yeah. 2022, 2023, 4 and 5. Yeah. Last year I was a little bit down and out during spring training last year. I was rehabbing an Achilles injury, which it was nothing serious. It was just some tendonitis and whatnot. But so I
Tedious,
didn't get a
though.
full a chance. Yeah, just tedious things like that. So I was kind of on my own during spring training with the trainers and getting back into playing shape. So it's good to be healthy, man, and just go through things normally. Like with the rest of the guys, not doing extra things and taking time away from being with the team and whatnot. So no, it's really good, really happy, and extremely fortunate and blessed to be healthy and ready for a good spring here.
I'm glad you're healthy too, man. I mean, it goes a long way. Out of curiosity, have you noticed are guys are guys reporting earlier to camp more and more? Like, have you noticed that over your time since just the 4 years?
Honestly, yeah, man.
Yeah.
I think guys say that the spring the off seasons get shorter and shorter as your career goes on, and I've heard that too. But before this year, it was like, wow, I got 4 solid months off here, and it truly has felt like 4 months. But this year, I was like a snap of the fingers, and then we're back down here for camps. But no, this is about average time when physical development camps and defense camps and hitting camps get going. So it kicks into gear just after the new year once the dead period ends. And before it, there were probably even camps throughout December and November, but now with the dead period, we kind of get those months to ourselves, which we're still training and whatnot, but no affiliated camps and whatnot go on during those times.
Do you find that it's important to get a break from the game? Like, how do you kind of balance life with the off season and baseball, right? Like, because obviously the
Yeah,
off season is where you kind of give yourself a reprieve, but like you said,
right.
the further you get into it, the shorter those off seasons get.
Absolutely, and I think that's the most important part about it is getting away from the game. But at the end of the day, our careers rely on our bodies. So from day one of the off season, I think most of us at this point we're thinking about how to get extremely healthy, whatever nagging injuries from the season that you have. How can we minimize those and get back into training shape come October, November when things start really ramping up. But I think just balancing that with girlfriends, wives, fiancés, mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, and I think that's the most important thing to me is that I get a chance to spend time with all of those people. So but I'm also fortunate to have good training aspects or facilities and things to do in Columbus, where I was at for most of the off season, and not too far north in Cleveland. There, I have my agencies there, and so I got a chance to see those guys. And when I'm back home in South Bend, I have a chance to train. With guys from around there and who are local there, and so it's great to really travel around, see everybody you would like to see throughout the off season, but at the end of the day, wherever I go, there needs to be a spot there for me to kind of get my work into. So it's nothing really changes. We're still going, 5, 6 days a week. And but once the new year hits, it's full go,
It's full go. Before
full
we
go.
dive too deep into last year,
Hmm.
I am curious if you had a takeaway from 2024 because it was an interesting season for you, right? I mean, you started off injured.
Yeah,
You got your call up from Double A to Triple A. You lit Triple A on fire when you first got there. Just what were your general thoughts on
yeah.
2024? Were you happy with where you were at?
Absolutely. I think 2024 was a great year for myself, developing not only as a player but as a person too. Just moving throughout the ranks, kind of quickly. Right there. You know what I mean. After rehab, just kind of breaks were halted there in February. I didn't get a chance to break with the teams and out of spring training, so um, you know, you never know what's going to happen at that point. Things there's things that creep into your mind with the injuries. Is this going to keep coming back and whatnot? So honestly, my main goal last year, once I got onto the field, was just stay as healthy as I can. Continue to get my work in every day, like the little things that I needed to do, not only hitting and whatnot, but the body maintenance part of it. And I think that's where I grew most last year as a player was just focusing on recovery and preparing for the day and just kind of make sure I'm uh, just dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's when it comes to my feet and my just everything. Continuing my workouts throughout the season, and um, but after it's all said and done, you look back and the stats. We've always said that the stats only matter on the last day of the season. So it was like, yeah, it was really a really good thing to get up to AAA and to perform and kind of go through some ups and downs there and whatnot, and battle back from tough stretches and tough weeks and even a tough month. And I believe it was August or July or whatever it was. It
Hmm.
was a little bit slower month, but to continue to get better after that and to finish the season strong, or continue to give yourself a chance to be there next year. So I was extremely proud of myself for kind of going through the season like that last year, where it was there's ups and downs to every year, but getting moved up and playing in AAA, which was unexpected last year at a certain point, it was an absolute blessing. And I'm just so grateful to just be there first of all, but to perform well and to meet some of my expectations, it's great as well.
I would love for you to touch on a little bit more what you were talking about with injuries there, because that's really interesting. And I hadn't really kind of thought about that, but I can imagine coming off of an injury, you almost have to prove to
Right.
yourself your body can handle it, right? Like you're almost building confidence just that you
Slightly,
can,
yeah.
yeah. So when do
Yeah,
you when
absolutely.
do you kind of get that point, hit that point mentally where you're like, I can go 110% and not worry about things breaking down. Is it just proving you can? Like, is it just doing it?
It's yeah, it's with what I had going on, it was just making sure I was able to make a move that I wasn't expecting, or um to round a base hard and to put the brakes on, last second, and doing things like that. And I think, I had a great physical therapist who was running me through my rehab progressions and whatnot. And there was no days where things weren't getting done and I was progressing the next day. It was, we got to master where we're at the point, and until these things are mastered and you're doing the movements effortlessly and without pain, we weren't going to go forward. And there was a point in the rehab where I was just it's been something I dealt with the year prior, and I pretty much just played on it all year, and it was not fun.
Hmm.
So it was like putting that the ideas that I wanted to break for camp, and putting those things aside, and really just trusting my trainers and trusting in my body that it was going to get better and not rushing it. So because if I would have rushed it
That's a
last year,
hard
who's
one,
to
eh?
tell?
Not
Yeah,
rushing
who's
it, I
to
can
tell?
imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Who's to tell what would have happened, in September or August when, things are wrapping up and calls are being made, whatnot, and then the body's breaking down. So it was really trusting in, the guys that I was working with that the things were progressing the way that they needed to. And yeah, at the end of the day, you're never going to get better until you tell yourself, that I'm going to get better. And this isn't something that I'm going to deal with forever, and trust in the work that, you're putting in every day, and understanding that, we were putting 3-4 hours a day into rehab into the foot. Like those are things that, you always have in your back pocket. I think throughout the year, it's like trust the work you've already done, and just go out there and play free. So it was good to finally get back to that point. Once I had already played a few weeks throughout the year.
It's sort of interesting, my man, because in 2023, when you were called up to Double A, you struggled out of the gate.
Yeah, for sure.
And then last year, and I know we touched on it here, but you got the call up to Triple A and literally started as hot as you possibly could, pretty much.
Yeah.
So you've literally experienced both sides of that coin. So, uh, number one, you getting promoted and struggling in Double A, do you think that helped you when you were
Oh,
called
absolutely.
up in Triple A? And then secondly, when you were in Buffalo and finally started to cool off, how do you process because you obviously know the other foot's coming, right? Like the other foot, the shoe's dropping, right? Like you're not hitting 7 home runs in 10 games and hitting 350 the whole season. So like
Right.
how do you kind of like use the
Yeah.
experience of slumping, but also when you're hot, not let yourself get
Right.
too in your
I
own
think,
head.
yeah, I think that's just the looking back on a whole season. There was points in the season where I was getting frustrated with myself and not allowing myself to play free like I had been talking with the injury, and dwelling on games and at bats and taking those into the next at bats, and those are something that in the moment you're trying to make adjustments and get better, and kind of uh, analyze what went wrong and put work in the next day to try to avoid that. And looking back, it was like I was doing slightly too much of that in those stretches in AAA, and that's kind of what I had found myself doing when I had moved up to AA. So it's just learning from mistakes in the past, and it's like, oh, you start playing well in AA, you're like, oh, I got over it, whatever. Yeah, but there's still more steps in this game, and you're always going to get beat up a little bit. So it's like just continuing to grow in that aspect as a player, where it's not putting so much into every at bat, and if 10 don't go right, you know what I mean, don't let those 10 affect the next 10, or just continue to look back at notes from times when you're hot, and what was going well then, what pitches was I hitting well, what counts was I getting myself into, you know what I mean, just continuing to lean on those times and not dwell on the times that aren't going so well out for you as a player. And I think that's something that I've taken from a little bit from every level. Just playing in college, man, going into Dayton as a freshman, like getting beat up as a freshman, and not playing very well in a conference that I could have done much better throughout the career. If I had just played more free and not given so much into every game and every at bat, and just kind of let give it. There's got to be a point where you have to let your athleticism take over, and um, at times I still to this day don't let that happen. And after every season I look back and I'm like, yeah, it was really good then. I Not much was going through my mind. I was just playing free, playing athletic, and yeah, that time I can remember getting extremely upset after that game or whatnot. You know what I mean? So it's like just taking those things, learning from those things, and really just like making them known when the season comes about in April, that those things are going to happen, and that just avoiding those things, and continuing to just be an athlete. And I think that's about the most important thing always.
When you're not feeling right at the plate, What's kind of your go-to move? Like, is there a coach or someone within your circle that you kind of lean on? And by the way, when I say this, I'm not even meaning like some big soul-sucking slump, right? I just mean like
Right.
day to day, maybe you get up and you're like, I'm just not feeling it. What do you
Yeah.
do? What's the process?
Yeah, I think it starts with like doing somewhat of the same thing every day, like not doing anything crazy, having sort of a similar routine day to day and leaning into that. And then yeah, just continuing to have people in your circle that you can talk to, whether it's friends or family or your parents. For me, it's I got a couple guys that I like talking, hitting with, and if I'm in a slump, they kind of know that guy that was hitting well at that period of time, and they're like, hey, just go out there, be yourself, whatnot. There's one Tyler Mitchell. He's in our agency up in Cleveland, and he's one of my hitting coaches throughout the off season. But on the field, man, there's always good staff. Ryan Long is our hitting coach, and he kind of uh, him and I talked a lot about when I was going wrong, how complex I was making it, and how my moves were getting bigger, and we just worked on simplifying everything, and I think that kind of got me back to where I needed to be. But yeah, it's just about building a relationship, and if it's a mental thing, we have mental coaches on each individual team. There's a mental performance staff throughout our organization, and there's each affiliate has a person there, and they're great, man. If you're in a blender, your mind's going a million miles an hour. They're just a good person to talk to, whether it's about baseball or not. But yeah, I think it's just about continuing being yourself and leaning into those routines that you have every day. And yeah, if you need somebody to talk to, I there's always people out there, and it doesn't have to be somebody who's um, in baseball, let alone at the professional level, because not too many people have had a chance to be here. So it's like continue to be yourself and have people around you that know yourself, know you as a human being, so you can check your boxes and make sure you're still being the person that you need to be, and not diving into the negatives and the things that are getting you down or whatnot. So it's good to have those people and friends and family, and former coaches are great. So yeah, there's all types of people.
Absolutely. I mean, it's
For sure.
crazy how important a support system is when you're pursuing something. And I relate 100%. Like when you're pursuing something that
Absolutely.
the higher up you get, the fewer and fewer people truly get, right? Like
Right.
it's not that they don't understand or empathize, it's just they haven't done it there. So there isn't a lot of to draw on. And I know fans in particular love to blame hitting coaches. And I'm only bringing this up because we just talked about your coaches and stuff like that.
You're right.
When a player slumps, which is funny because fans never bring up hitting coaches when a guy is red hot, right? It always tends to
Right.
be when they're slumping.
Yeah.
Um, I'm curious how much you actually feel lies at the feet of the hitting coaches. Like when you're spending time with a coach, what are you personally trying to derive from that? Like I'm guessing the most important part for them is to kind of know your swing inside and out. Like
Exactly that.
they're trying to pick out something it's going back to what you said before, right? Is trust the work you've already put in to get you
Right.
there. And
Right.
so is that what it is? Like a coach is just like kind of an outside pair of eyes that's like, bro, you're just like you were so on a month ago and I don't know why you're changing it.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. With a hitting coach, the only thing that's going to make you better throughout that the hitting coach cannot make you better or worse. You have to have a relationship with that person, and I think that just comes from putting the hours in with that person, talking to them, letting them know what works for you, and hearing them what they have to say, and how their philosophies and techniques can match up with you. And that's the biggest part of it with a hitting coach. Like anytime a guy goes wrong, that hitting coach will do anything in his power to help you become a better hitter. But most of the time, it's about what's going on up here in the box, and what's going through your head and what pitches you're looking for, and are you staying out of your own way? Is that something that a hitting coach can help you with? Absolutely not. That's something that's in between your mind. But a good hitting coach can allow you to understand those things about yourself. And if you know that person well and they know you well, because like with the Jays, man, we've had a lot of the same hitting coaches for years now, 4 or 5 years that I've been here. So I've built up a good relationship with a lot of them, and they know me on a personal level. So those guys can always, help me get out of what I was into. But at the end of the day, it's if you're going up there and abandoning everything that because you're hyper fixated on A, B, or C, when you should just continue to be the athlete that you are and to be free and to to just hit like a kid like we've always done. Those are things that a hitting coach isn't really possible to help out there. But yeah, I think a fan that's just about understanding the game. There's no hitting coach that's going to make a team that much better than they already are. They can only help each individual person and kind of build a relationship and continue to keep guys on the right path. So, but when things are going wrong, it's never their fault. It's always our fault, man. It's always our fault. Trust me. But no, it's yeah, you hit it perfect. I think it's just finding a guy. There's most hitting staffs in our org have one or two hitting coaches on each team. So finding the guy that you want to build a relationship with, or even if that's somebody else in the organization, they're always willing to hop on a phone call throughout the day, and they're very helpful, and they like to get to know each guy. So it's really important to have that person to lean on, and to make sure that they're aware of the things that make you tick. And the only way to do that is just hit with them and over again. You know what I mean? Continuing to build those relationships. So yeah, I think that's about it there.
Well, on the other side of the ball, too, Riley, I know that last year you played a lot of first and third base. I mean, in fact, there were plenty of times where I was really impressed because even mid-game, you would get switched from third
Right.
to first. And it did give Casey Kendall a lot of like versatility, right? Like that's a nice thing to give your manager.
Yeah,
What's
absolutely.
the biggest challenge mentally? Because I listen, I know that they're very, very different positions, although they are very similar positions. So where do you need to be mentally preparation wise, just to make sure that you can make those in game switches and that your brain
Right.
can all of a sudden go from, I mean, literally the left to the right? How do you do
Yeah.
that? How do you prepare for it? What mindset do you like to be in?
I think you know playing third, playing first, I would say it's tougher to play third. First has its things that make it difficult, um, but entirely extremely important. And to be a good first baseman is just about allowing your infielders to trust you that they can pick that ball up and get rid of it. But just always being in the mindset of a third baseman, I think, is what's helped me play first at a pretty solid level, and to play a lot over there this year. And being with Votto over there allowed me to really understand the importance of knowing the runners and knowing the situations and making the plays happen before they happen in your head. And just knowing always where you're going to be is of the utmost importance. And I think just it goes back to the work, man. Making sure you're getting your live reps in during batting practice over at third. If you're playing more first, continue to make sure you're getting reps in over at third, so you're not a step behind. If you need to make a switch or you get an unexpected start over there, you can go over there and play like it's nothing. But yeah, I think that's been the most important thing too for this offseason for me, was just solidifying my footwork over there at third, because I played more first last year, and
Hmm.
continuing to develop as a third baseman and not necessarily just diving into one position or the other. You know what I mean? And just yeah, keeping that versatility, man, and just trying to to maximize the innings that you're on the field and give yourself a chance to be in the lineup wherever the fit is. It doesn't matter wherever they need a guy.
We don't need to dive too deep in on this because I know you were probably asked this all season last year, but how long did it take for Joey Votto to be in the clubhouse before he was just one of the boys? Like
Oh
when?
man, he was there. He was there day one. He was a guy
Yeah,
day one. Absolutely, he was a guy day one. And not that we were all like not shocked. It was just like, oh, he's just a man. He's riding the bus with us.
yeah,
He's not taking flights. You know what I mean? He's staying in the same hotels we're staying at, and that's I mean that's just credit to who he is as a person. And
yeah.
he's nothing. He doesn't hold himself on a different level than anybody else. He's just like the rest of us, and um,
That's the
doing
impression I
that,
got too.
having him in
Yeah.
the oh yeah, having him in the clubhouse. He was one of the boys day one. Nothing different about him from the next guy. Yeah, rode the bus, ate the team dinners most of the time, and was a good mentor to a lot of us.
Love that, man. I love that. Uh,
Absolutely.
how long do you stick with the same bat? Like, are you a superstitious guy? Do you stick with a bat as long as it's working for you, or are you a like, give me a fresh, clean bat?
Usually they break on me. Usually they
Okay.
break on me too too early, and I don't allow them to get to their full potential. But no, I would rather stick with one bat for as long as I can and just
Yeah.
let that one get hot. And but there's times, man, where I mean, even last year where there's you're going through a rough week and you're like, all right, I'll try this one. That one doesn't work too well. You put it back in the bag and you
Yeah.
got like three half brand new bats in your bag instead of having a bunch of brand new bats. So I think um, I try to use them for as long as I can because they start getting a certain feel about them, and like I use the same two bats all off season, and I got more on the way, but until these two get snapped in half by a slider or a
Yeah.
heater on the hands, I'm gonna keep using them. So no, I try not to use too many different bats. Try to keep the one that I got last.
Are
But
there are there really superstitious guys on last year's team? Like, did you have anyone who to the point where you're like, all right, we get it. Like,
think so. I don't think we had
no.
too many guys. There's guys who are very routine oriented, and
Yeah.
you know you'll see them doing the same thing every day, and it's like I can put a guy. We had a guy named Juan Nunez. He was with New Hampshire for a while, played with him in Vancouver, but the guy had like a hour and a half foam rolling routine every single day where he had about eight different baseballs that he used to to do soft tissue work on his arm and things like that. And it's crazy. Yeah, some of the routines that these guys have, and mostly pitchers, but
Yeah.
yeah, it honestly it takes 2 3 hours of their day. And uh but at the end of the day, that's just going back to the work and keeping same routines and whatnot. But no, we didn't have any terrible underwear stories or sock stories or anything like that. That not that I know of.
Yeah.
If they're doing that, they're probably keeping that to
Keeping it to
themselves. Probably.
themselves. I
Yeah.
like that. That's
Right.
funny. I know Achiro obviously just went to the Hall of Fame, and I don't know if you heard his little story there about his rookie season, but he was about midway through his rookie season, and one of the starting pitchers was called up from AAA for a spot start, and he's in the dugout while the guys are getting ready to bat. It's the fourth inning, and Ichiro always kept his bat separate from like all of the others, right? And he'd leave it on the bench. And I guess this pitcher went up and touched his
Oh
bat,
no.
and literally he put it back down. Ichiro went and grabbed the bat into the garbage. He just threw it right in the
Oh man.
garbage.
So I'll tell you a little bit about Josh Kasovich. He if you watch him play, he's one of the better defenders anybody's ever seen in their lives. Like he's incredible. But aside from that, the guy is more superstitious about his gloves than anybody else I've ever seen in their life. He'll walk up to your locker and grab your glove, check it out, try it on, whatnot. But you can't the minute you go, he'll start protecting his gloves, and you can't even touch his own gloves or
That is
whatnot. So
too funny.
he keeps a tight leash on him. Yeah, but he'll go over and mess with your gloves. But no, don't even try to get don't even try to get his locker, man.
I know there's like an old baseball trope of like pitchers and batters not wanting to get too close in case they need to play each other down the road and they don't want to have like some sort of psychological advantage. Is that a real thing? Like, have
Right.
you ever run into that in like even if not affiliate ball, even if it's like college or high school, have you run into that before?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. There's
you're
there's
like,
always guys who
yeah.
they think there's like some vendetta against hitters and they don't like any hitters and it's but at the end of the day I always ask them when we're training in the off season and there'll be 3 or 4 of us in the batting cage. I ask them if they're getting nervous by hearing all the loud noises that we're making in the cage. But it's pretty funny. Yeah, we give them crap about that. And no, I think there's always a good rivalry there, I think. But at the end of the day, they'll ask us questions throughout the season. Hey, what are you guys seeing about, what's working with other pitchers? What's not? How's that guy getting out? So they can, because at the end of the day, we're all trying to get the same place, and if we're on the
Yeah.
same team, there's no bad blood, and it's fun when you go. There might be a guy on another team who is with your org. If he's on the mound, you're always looking forward to facing that guy because you know him a little bit, and there's always a little friendly competition. And we 500 at bats in a season. We can if we get one where there's a little friendly competition, it's great.
I love that, man. So I know, and it was kind of fun running into you while I was covering the Bisons a little bit last year. And I know
Absolutely.
one of my favorite things about last year was the first time I got to talk to Casey because he is
Hmm.
literally like the most stereotypical old grumpy manager that you could possibly have. Because he's talk to him after a win, he is a
Yeah.
sweetheart. Honestly, he is
Right.
the nicest guy. But talking
Before
to
the
him
games, yeah,
Oh man,
great
talk
guy, great
exactly.
guy.
Talking to him
Yeah,
after a loss, like you better really need a clip. Like
yeah,
otherwise just let the man be. What's the
absolutely.
angriest you've ever seen Casey? Because he seems like a guy who, when he wants to blow his top, he has the ability to really blow his top.
I mean, I don't know. I think he cares so much, and he's been around for so long and he holds us to such a high standard. It's almost like, yeah, I deserve that one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's refreshing that people still care that much, and because there's a lot of times where um, you'll talk to guys and their manager's like, yeah, he doesn't really do anything. We don't really talk about much, and this, that, and the other, and um, I think I stole a base or attempted to steal a base in Durham this year, and I think it was not good. I think Alan Roden was up. Guy
Yeah.
rakes, I
Yeah.
think maybe 1 or 2 outs, and I ran into a throw down to second base and got thrown out at second, and I I didn't see he doesn't really blow up on any guys, but I heard he was pretty upset in the dugout at me. Um, but but no, he it does. It's awesome that he's around and that he's got so much experience in the game that anything he says is pretty much gold, and
Yeah.
he knows how to make guys better and he knows how to hold a guy to a standard and whatnot and not. If you're messing around or you're not taking care of what needs to be taken care of, he's the first guy to let you know. And that's all you can ask for at this point, man, is somebody who's going to push you and help you get to the next level. And at the end of the day, that's what all of us need is sometimes just a little push and to make sure certain things. You do something on the field, you boot a ball, or it looks like you're not giving everything you got on a play. He'll be the first one to let you know. And I think that's why so many guys have successful careers after playing for him and continue to keep him around and just lean on him and there's so much knowledge and baseball there that he's going to push
Truly.
anybody who's around him. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Coaches, players, training staff, everything.
Riley, my man, I honestly could sit and chat baseball with you all day, brother. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show. You got time for one more here?
I got all the time in the world for you,
All
Scott. Thanks
right.
for having me, man. It's
Thank
always a
you.
pleasure to get on here with you.
So I know, obviously, you're not setting any numerical goals like I gotta hit this or an OPS of that, but more broad strokes. Developmentally, what are your goals heading into 2025?
Yeah, I think at this point right now, I want to compete to make a roster wherever that is, and I think this year is a good year after playing in AAA last year to get that opportunity to play in the show, and that's about all I think about and strive for every day when I go to the field. Is to play at the highest level, and that that mindset hasn't changed ever since the time I would walk into the Dayton facilities. You know what I mean? It's always, how do I continue to get better? How do I put myself into a position to make it to the next level? And what do I need to do to get called up? What do I need to do to get better today? What am I doing on the field right now that's going to hinder me from developing as a player? And not necessarily putting those stresses on yourself, but just making yourself aware of what you do want in this game. And
Hmm.
yeah, that's where I'm at, man. I would just want to stay healthy and put myself into a good position to be where I would like to be, and have a good spring. But at the end of the day, it's just continuing to do the little things right, not skip the little things, man. They're so important. And as we all move up a little bit, we all realize how much those important things, those little matter, and you know, continuing to take ownership of that, and just being good guy in the clubhouse. Meeting new people, getting to know everybody, like you said, getting to know the hitting staffs and whatnot. But yeah, just looking forward to a good year, and man, just staying healthy, and likewise for everybody else.
Well, we're rooting for you, my man. Honestly, we're really
I
cheering
appreciate
you
it.
on for 2025, and fingers crossed that next time we have you on the walk off, it's as making your MLB debut or something crazy like that.
Well, maybe by then I'll be able to get an iPad to make these go a little smoother or something. So,
All right. Thanks again, Riley. Cheers, man.
absolutely, man.